that are for both width and area by a significant degree. And when you look at the buffer zone, the 350-foot radius in all directions, there really, with one exception, one lot, there isn't anything close to the small lots that you would see if this were granted. We believe that property owners should be able to do what they want to do on their property. Sometimes variations from the R1 ordinances make sense. If it's a little too narrow, but it's still the area. If it's got the area, but it's a little too narrow, that happens to actually be true of our property. But what you have here is a situation where, if approved, the lot would be 20% narrower than the R1 zoning. And the area would also be nearly 20% smaller than the R1 zoning. Now, the applicant has said that there are lots of lots in the buffer zone area that are narrower than this, that have less area than this. But if you look a little more closely, if you look at Exhibit 1, where it shows that, that 350-foot radius in each direction, there is only one lot that is smaller than what was proposed, and that is also narrower. Of the other smaller lots, the ones that are less than 6,000 square feet, there's a lot of them that are like 5,730 some square feet. They're almost 20% bigger than what these two lots would be. And when you look at those lots that are just a little bit smaller in area, they meet the width requirement. They're all 50 feet in width. You have to go significantly farther than 350 feet in each direction, particularly to the east and to the north, into those really super small lots of Cottage City, to find the lots that are in fact as small as this and as narrow as this. And we just think that that would be out of character with what's really in that area. It's the far southwest corner of Cottage City. It gets over into Remington Park, gets into the Oliver addition. In fact, one of the interesting things that Janelle mentioned when we spoke is that actually these lots, when you look at their size and you look at their width, they're not R1 size lots. They're R1A. And so if this is okay to create lots that are this much smaller by width and this much smaller by area, then just change it all to R1A. Because it really does open the door for those kinds of adjustments. And so that's why that we're really opposed to this, because you just don't see it in the area. And it's not just by a little bit. It really isn't close. Thank you.
Right, thank you. And next speaker, please state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Mayer, and I live at 3940 Washburn Avenue South. I'll be addressing the two variances in the minor subdivision using the official application that Janelle Widmeyer prepared, and also using the variance documents the architect submitted that we had access to at the end of the business day on Wednesday, February 1st. In the document of record, she has combined both variances in her narrative, therefore I've done the same. I'm addressing the criteria that you have in front of you, and I've combined those in my the pieces that I want to bring forward here. So first of all, the variance states that the variety of lots in our area do not comply with the R1 district lot area and the width requirements. To that I say, we are still within those requirements, and those are the ones that as residents and as you, we should be abiding by. As John said, if you wanted to change the zoning, but this is the zoning that we have right now. In the document, it is stated that 41% of the lots are under 6,000 square feet. That means that 59% are over 6,000 square feet. And I apologize, I wrote notes on this. But this is the buffer zone that you said that we need to look at, which is 350 feet of the lots, which that is the lot. There are 73 lots in that buffer zone. The average lot size is 7,033 square feet, which in comparison to the lot sizes they are requesting of 4,897 and 4,900 is a significant size decrease. There is only one lot out of the 73 lots that is less than their smallest size, which is 4,555 feet. That's the corner lot. And if you look at it, that is actually an original cottage home that is on that lot. And it's the smallest lot, as you can see in the buffer zone. In the request, they stated they plan on each house being 2,500 square feet. They also stated in the document that I had access to online as of end of day Wednesday, that each home would be 31.5 feet in width. Based on that calculation, they would only have 15.5 feet for 4 setbacks of 5 feet each. Today, they have updated that statement, and that is the correction that you are asking about. They went from 31.5 feet to, I believe, and I do not have a copy in front of me, but I think it says, Janelle, what is it? 29 point what? 25. But I questioned their actual intent. She said it was a typo. What other errors are in the request? I only have access to what you have given to me. Then I would also question that they will come back for a setback variance once they actually have the house plans, because those are very small. It is also stated that 30% of lots are less than 50 feet wide. This percentage really does not give us any good comparison to what they are asking. I would suggest that if a comparison of how many lots are actually 39.2 feet or less than 40 feet wide, that would actually give us probably a much smaller number of lots and therefore look out of character of the neighborhood. Also, if these 2 lots are approved, they are the second and third smallest lots in that buffer zone. Wouldn't those be 2 of the narrowest lots in the neighborhood then? That is information that I don't believe that has been studied enough. Also in the document that Janelle put together, there's an opinion she states in this section, which is actually not fact. She states, and I quote, with the existing lot area, a much larger dwelling could be constructed on the site, which would be out of character for the moderately sized homes in the surrounding area. In the variance, the owners of the lot are saying they would build 2 2,500 square feet homes. We would say that putting up that size home that they are calling modest on the second and third smallest lots in the buffer zone are out of character of the neighborhood. And that is one of the criteria that you put forth, and also the variance that it fits. There also is a third option that's never said in any document that the owners could do, and that would be to keep the existing home and remodel. That would stay in character of the neighborhood. It is stated that both houses would have alley access and therefore not have an impact. There will be an impact on the busyness and use of that alley. In addition, since their street front and their curb front access is very short at that, what they want to cut it into, additional cars would be put on the street for street parking. Therefore, there will be an impact on the neighborhood. The third criteria says that the proposed variance will not alter the essential character of the locality or be injurious to the use or enjoyment of the property in the vicinity. If granted, the proposed variance will not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the general public or of those utilizing the property or nearby properties. We are the house right next to this, so we will be affected. She states in the document that it would not affect the character or the enjoyment of the other property, but it does. This house, to get to the size they want, again, of that 2,500 square feet, surely, you guys, if you do the math, and I've done the math, it would have to be 2 stories in the front and 3 stories in the back. In the buffer area that I'm referencing to here, not that big map that he had put up, there are no houses like that with 3 stories from the back. For enjoyment for our home, it will take all the sunlight from the back of our home, which our house is long and narrow, and this is the long side. There's some livability and sustainability that you as city council people and members of the community offer or are putting out there for us all to live by, and this would affect that for us. Additionally, our home was built in 1953. It is over the setback of our home. Therefore, we have actually less than 5 feet. And I know we're not talking about setbacks today, but this does impact us. We have basically 4 feet from our home to the property line. I am concerned if they build up to that 5 feet, it'll be less than 9 feet. If they go back for a variance or even at the 9 feet, the reason for that setback is for fire protection. Fire is known to leap from house to house. If it's less than that, that fire, if there was one, could damage our house and would be definitely impacted. And I'm usually even concerned at the 9 feet. Concerning the minor subdivision, the regulation on this states that a subdivision will not impact erosion, drainage, soil condition. We've lived there my husband's lived there for over 23 years. I've lived there for 17. We have seen that land sink. Many of the homes in our area have sub pumps or on pilings. She states that the grade is minimal. There is a 5 to 8 to maybe 10 feet difference in our home and theirs. That would seem to be more than a minimal grade difference. Other statements made in this minor subdivision section I've already addressed. So that is the end of my statement. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, and please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Joe Uhas. I live at 3940 Washburn Avenue South. I'm one of the long-term residents in the neighborhood. I've been there. I was the person that lived next door to the Johnsons when the Johnsons lived there, when 3 little kids would play in the backyard. I've seen the house next door for the last 23 years do nothing but deteriorate. And as Karen brought up, one of the things that they don't talk about, and I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my property to continue to upgrade it and make it fit within the neighborhood, nothing has happened to the house next door. They've allowed it to deteriorate to the point where they consider the only possibility is to tear it down. And I think that goes in opposition to really what we should be doing in the city. We should be maintaining and keeping and remodeling and fixing, not tearing down and filling landfills with construction materials and waste and everything else. We should be investing in our properties, keeping them up. So I think there is a great opportunity that can still happen. And it's already been mentioned. They use the comparable to the house that's on Thomas. Well, the house on Thomas, those houses run east and west. I walked over there and looked at those houses today. The setbacks, they're not comparable. There's an alley on one side. There's an 8,500 square foot lot on the other side with big setbacks from the house that's setting on that. So their setbacks are between the 2 houses are very narrow. They've got an alley buffer to the house that's closest to it on the south, and a large property with a big setback to the property to the north of it. So again, those are not comparable to lots that were split and are now approximately those size. And I'm similar to what Vaughn presented. You built this house. I've got a garden. This takes away all the sun from my garden. All the summer sun will be blocked from the garden. So the productivity from my garden will be dwindled to nothing. And I really only see this as, this is investors moving in to try to make money on a property that should have been salvaged over the last 20 years. I went to look at that house to buy it 23 years ago. And the reason I didn't buy that house, the foundation was bad on it then. I thought it needed $40,000 worth of work to bring it up to what it was. I don't know who assessed that house when it sold for $135,000, but that house was not worth $135,000 years ago. And now I don't know if it's worth the assessment that is valued at right now. So it was a risky investment when they went into this. And now they're asking for the neighborhood to help them out of this situation and put them back, money back in their pockets so that they can recover. And as the neighbors that are most impacted by this, I feel that the financial impact that I'm going to feel and the home that I have today is going to be severely impacted. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item? If there is no one, I'll close the public hearing. And commissioners, we have 3 applications before us. Are there any further questions, or would someone like to start us off with a motion? Commissioner Rockwell.
Question for staff. A lot of what we've heard worry about is access to light. And this property exists right now as a developable property without subdividing. As you pointed out in the staff report, it seems to me that the access to light issues could all occur if the property were developed as it is currently platted. Is that correct? I mean, 3 stories, same setbacks, yes or no?
The height limitations are the same. The maximum floor area ratio limitations are the same. The exception being the setbacks. With a wider lot, as the lot increases in width with single-family dwellings, the yard requirements increase in width as well. So they wouldn't have a 5-foot setback. Off the top of my head, it might be 8 feet on each side for the side yard setback.
Okay, so it would be bigger, but not by not by more than 5 feet.
Right.
Probably. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Or would someone like to start things off with a motion? The public hearing is closed now. We can what is your maybe okay, Mr. Wittenberg. Yeah, it'd be best if you wouldn't mind just talking to Janelle afterwards in terms of the process. The subdivision is approved by this commission. Yes, that's right. You should talk to Janelle afterwards. So if you have any other questions, would someone like to start us off with a motion? Commissioner Rockwell.
Sure, I'd move to adopt staff recommendation and approve the subdivision and variances.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve all 3 applications, the 2 variances and minor subdivision. Is there any further discussion? I'll just add quickly, I realize that it may seem alarming to neighbors when variances are granted. Although this area was platted many years ago, and there are a variety of lot sizes, some of which are smaller, some of which are larger. It looks like it was originally platted into very narrow lots. This right now is a 78-foot wide lot, which is a very unusually wide lot anywhere in Minneapolis. And I think, in the interest of expanding housing opportunities, we have to look at locations like this for providing for new construction. Overall, the area of the 2 new lots proposed are, while they're a little bit smaller than many of the lots in the neighborhood, there are other relatively small lots in this area. So it's certainly not something that is going to alter the character or grant a privilege to one specific property owner. Commissioner Rockwell.
I mean, looking at the map, I think it's either going to be the second biggest lot or the second smallest 2 lots. So it's a weird lot or 2 lots, and I think exactly for what the chair spoke to, it's more consistent to me with our comprehensive plan guidance on improving housing opportunities, and I think the impact to the neighbors is real, and I think that it's not substantively different between the 2 different development scenarios. So that therein lies my reasoning.
Right. Commissioner Lukey-Peer.
I just wanted to encourage the architect to work with their clients to deal with the impervious surface. I assume since the current one is a tuck under that has, non-impervious surface leading all the way to it, that it would be substantially reduced with the presence of perhaps garages on the alley, which would in fact help you deal with water drainage on site. So I just want to reiterate that importance of trying to maintain and actually improve water conditions for this property as you proceed.
All right. If there is no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Freeland.
Aye.
Sweezy. Aye. Slack.
Aye.
Rockwell.
Aye.
Magrino.
Aye.
Lipke-Peer.
Aye.
Kranzer.
Aye.
Gagnon.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
It's 9-0.
And that motion carries. That concludes our discussion on item 3. We have one item under commission business today, and that is we need to select officers for 2017. So I believe our nominating committee has met, and Commissioner Vreeland, would you like to provide an update?
Yes, if our current officers are willing to serve again, I would put their names into nomination, unless they say no. So.
All right. So we have a motion to elect the current officers to their positions for 2017. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And that motion carries. And that concludes our business for today. We have committee of the whole this Thursday. Our next meeting is February 21st, and we are adjourned.